Sorry for the delay. Had some stuff I had to take care of and get prepped, and then tried to copy some stuff and deleted it all, and had to start all over. And busy, busy, busy. Yeah, I got a bunch of other stuff going on too. So, thank you anyone that's watching. See if we can get a few more people in here before we begin. Who's in here now? Somebody with a wrench. I assume you're present, Cindy. Real sovereign citizens. Hello, Cindy, Seth. All right. So, anyone that's been sort of asking me about an update, I apologize that I took my time in doing so. It was a very delicate situation, so I wanted to sort of digest it a good bit, do some thinking, do some research on the subject matter before I spoke on it. Observing paranoid people. Tristan, where are you at today, my man? I swear. All right, Seth. So, you appreciate dense amounts of information. Welcome. You are in the right place. Anyway, yeah, so I wanted to sort of digest this a good bit before I decided to speak on it publicly. And I'm not so much going to get into everything that I'm going to be doing in response, for obvious reasons. I'm kind of playing a little bit of this pretty close to the chest. So I will go into, however, basically, how our live stream went, or how our court proceeding went, and essentially how I end up pleading guilty to all three charges, and what that means or doesn't. Actually, let me respond real quick. I'm gonna... Anyway, life still happens. Gotta do all these things here. I swear my phone never gets as busy once I started live here. Anyway, RD Dorsey. I tried a records request with attorney Nick, still refusing. Really? Are you local to me? Or you just get curious? Yeah, he's not a big provider on the old public records. Seems to be his job to go out of his way to find a reason to not give them to the citizen, as opposed to, act as if he's some sort of a public information officer. What's up, Roadhog? No bullshit. Okay, so we got a good few people in here. Let's go ahead and get started. I'll answer some of these questions basically along the way. So first off, the recent videos prior to this, obviously we touched on a good bit of, what I was going to argue out in court. I also touched on, the specific order that these trials were in. They gave me 3 trials within 2 days, back to back to back. And they were scheduled in a certain order. And I basically, I put all my eggs in that basket, and, essentially I'm a pro se litigant, and I've never seen an attorney do 3 trials in 2 days, back to back to back, with no, downtime in between or anything. Anyway, I was up to the challenge, so I basically, kind of built the majority of my defense based upon the order that these cases were in. It, kind of seemed really the only way possible to handle all three back to back to back like that, in my opinion, was to sort of have them reinforce each other. So obviously I asked for the first case that was scheduled to be scheduled first, and I did this in like August or September of, oh, snaps, sorry about that, phone fell. Anyway, I did this in August or September of 2020. So, it was long established. I didn't think that the order was going to be an issue, so I was fully prepared to do the battery first. It seems like the easiest one to beat. It's clear self-defense. The dude grabbed my property. It's on video. It's an easy win. It would have been the best one to go in here, relatively early in the morning and start off with to get the day going. And obviously, if this is a quick in and out 15-20 minute kind of trial thing, that's a little bit of demoralization on the part of the state. It works in my favor. It's a practice game, so to speak. I was not prepared for them to rearrange the order of my trials and start me off with the trespassing charges. I should have been, as soon as I made the video update explaining, that I was going to do the battery first, and, I should have expected the state to accommodate the fact that I'm, fairly open with my strategies here. And in my opinion, I believe it's my responsibility to do so, because I'm doing a lot of this in the name of the public. So I believe that I should be very public about, my intentions and, even my legal arguments. The transparency of my intentions, I like to be fully out there. I'm not necessarily doing this at this point for myself. To be perfectly honest, it's a little bit of a hassle for me personally on a personal level. But the bigger picture here, I recognize the importance of the state of Indiana being allowed to just trespass citizens without any sort of review process from public property indefinitely, with no appeal process, and then continually arrest them randomly, it would seem. I've been in City Hall hundreds of times, if not thousands at this point. I've only been arrested for trespassing twice, and it's the same officer every time. But it's, they're under this perception that a police officer can just tell you to leave and you have to leave, and public property, that this is an actual application. And I believe that they're incorrect, as I explained in the previous video. So to further complicate I said all that to say this because a buddy of mine and me, we were talking the other night about this, and how it feels like they've taken everything that I'm fighting for and utilizing it against me. Specifically the fact that there's really nothing more public than a trial. There's no properties really more public than the courthouse and City Hall. For my trials, the public was indeed not allowed in. This also kind of threw me off a good bit. I'm not gonna lie. Here in America, where I was born and raised for the entire 35 years of my existence, I've understood this country to provide all accused criminal defendants with a public trial, okay? They might not always honor the speedy part, but in my experience, I've never seen, a secret trial. I've never seen a secret trial, to be perfectly honest. I mean, even even someone that the judge hates gets a public trial. I've never seen anyone not get a public trial. So, to be perfectly honest, when they told me that, they were going to keep the public out, when I called, and they're very clear that this is my fault. I should have anticipated that a Laporte court would violate Article 1, Section 13 of the Indiana Constitution, which says that all criminal defendants shall have the right to a public trial. They basically told me I should have anticipated this, and I should have filed something. And I'm not really sure. I predict that because you guys break the law all the time and you really don't give a shit about anybody's constitutional rights, you're probably going to have a secret tribunal inaccessible to the public. Anyway, so the point is they banned the public from this trial. Now, I can already see where the trolls are going to go with this, and I've talked to a lot of normal people that I don't want to use the word ignorance or even naive, but a lot of people are hopeful. They have faith in the system still. So you kind of have to break it down, the excuses that they're going to make for the courts to be able to do this don't actually exist. So I did a lot of research and looking into this and checked into all the state website stuff. I even, I spoke with the county attorney on the matter. He polled all the judges in the county to determine essentially what measures they've taken to deal with COVID and also juggle the public's right to attend public proceedings. Okay, so, and he sent me basically the response from this, and it would seem that my court, the court where my trials were taking place, is the only court out of the 5 that was not set up. And the other 4 judges, by the way, I made a video that I made public right before I went live. You can check that out. It's got the emails between the county attorney and the local judges, and essentially they all respond. The 4 that are in compliance respond pretty much short and sweet and explain that the courts are open to the public. My judge, or the judge for the courtroom that I was in, he basically goes into how they were gonna do this, but then they got busy and blah 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 blah, boo-hoo. P.S. On the day of the trial that we held, without the public being available, numerous members of the public called us and belittled us and called us names. Boo-hoo. We had a secret tribunal and the public called us names. Yeah. So he seems to be fully aware that they, they made a big mistake here. And that's the thing, is this is easily probably the biggest mistake that I've seen made. And the reason for that is a member of the public who's currently in here. I don't know if you wish to be identified. Oh man. Snaps. Sorry, I got this bouncing up here on my laptop. And it's just sort of just barely balancing, but I need to be able to access the information here. Anyway, so yeah, oh snaps, this is just not working. So I'll go ahead and just leave it the way it is. So all right, anyway, There was a member of the public that was with me on the morning of trial. You know, I invited her. She was with me when I arrived at the courthouse. She attempted to come in to observe this trial. They basically told her that she could not come in. They gave her a document from the county commissioners, and essentially it said all public buildings, or all county buildings except the courthouses, are closed to the public. And then it went on to say that, security that works for the sheriff's department should be screening the public to determine if they are there for essential business, such as a court proceeding or a trial. So the document that they handed her as a member of the public said the exact opposite of what they were claiming. Then I have a friend who called in from out of town. He was trying to watch the live stream that's supposed to be available on the court's website. They basically just stream it right to the website. For the state, it's encrypted. They're completely, it's the Supreme Court is holding their hand through all of this, offering all assistance. They want to be able to honor your constitutional right to a public trial the best that they can under these conditions. So they've provided numerous amenities and guidance and instructions and memos and all sorts of stuff. So there's no reason why one courtroom should be out of the loop completely. There's no excuses at all. All the other the judge for Superior Court 1, she just took office January 1st. She's fully in line, got everything, completely set up the way it's supposed to be. Anyway, so they basically have this trial in secret. No one's allowed. Oh, let me reverse a little bit. So my buddy called. He's very pleasant with them. He asked, a good bit of questions. I believe there's a video of this. It's kind of staticky because I'm screen recording a recorded call. But you can get the gist of it. He was very pleasant with them. He simply wanted to understand how a trial is not public. And they're very insinuative, both with the member of the public that came with me, as well as this individual on the call, that essentially it's all my fault. That they directly associate everyone that called in about this trial with me specifically, and essentially tell these people that they've lost their right as members of the public to view the trial because I didn't file some magical paperwork to prevent them from violating my constitutional right to a public trial. If I wanted a public trial, essentially I should have thought of this before I decided to have a trial in Laporte County, of course. Maybe I'll sue myself. We'll see how that works out. Anyway, so yeah. Here, let me check into. I see you guys got a lot of comments going here. Thank you, James, for calling in. Oh, we got Doc Holliday in here, of course. Okay, Adams. Six Estate, what's up? Lady Zaga, how are you? Thank you, mods. You guys got some interesting topics going on here. Anyway, yeah, so they're pretty clear that the public has lost their right to view any trial. The individuals, from all the phone calls that I've heard that individuals recorded and sent me, it was pretty much the same spiel over and over and over. Some individuals were a little crankier when they called. That happens. The public is outraged, rightfully so. Anyway, so going into this trial, I'm fully aware that there's no objective observer or essentially nobody there except myself is a non-employee of the city and or the county. I mean, everyone that was in the building but me worked for the city or the county. Okay. And there's like a dozen people in the hallway outside the court congregated together, which is kind of shady. You got all your witnesses out here. Fuck social distancing. They're basically huddled up, getting their story together. Make all accommodations for them, but I wasn't allowed to have not a single person come in with me. Now, the thing is Circuit Court, which is in compliance, Superior 3, as well as Superior 2, are all in the same building. In Laporte City Courthouse. Then there's the Michigan City Courthouse, which is also in Laporte County. That's where Superior 1 and Superior 4 Court are located. So the thing is they could have just used a different courtroom. They could have went and unplugged some stuff from one courtroom and plugged it into another courtroom. The possibilities are endless how they could have fixed this very, very simple issue. And to be perfectly honest, I'm pretty sure they're full of shit. Because they do video court from the jail. Like they stream this to the court, and then from the court to the jail. So, they've been doing this for a long time. They're feigning ignorance because they wanted to hold a secret trial. And I don't think they were counting on the county attorney being so diligent about, making sure that this wasn't a judicial or county issue. But in fact, one court, one trial, not a, they're doing a lot of damage control right now. And a lot of it is because a good bit of you called in, that helped a lot. It let them know that, I was in court. They were pretty mad at me, and I'm just like, I was here the whole time. I don't even have a phone. Like, you won't even let me bring my electronic device in the building. I wasn't calling you. So it let them know that they were speaking to a range of different people, and they have no idea who they were speaking with at all, which is the best part. So they don't know who's gonna sue them. And fans of me obviously are likely that crowd. But it's, there's a lot of damage control that's going to be needed here. This is a pretty simple matter, but it's a big mistake. Because what it looks like is the same Republican judge that basically triggers 21 judicial recusals between the three of these cases as a conflict of interest. That judge, it's his court, and he was there that day, and it's his staff. And I was out of his courtroom before they put me back in that because I had a special judge. The conflict for that court no longer exists. But anybody that spoke with the bailiff, Sharon Krachinski, or Sharon Cunt, as Eric decided to name her, it's pretty obvious that there's a definitive conflict of interest between court staff for that judge that are under his supervisory capacity. They've got an obvious conflict with me there. It wasn't just the judge, it's his staff. So this seems to be somewhat orchestrated by the sheriff's department, unfortunately, because it would be court staff who's responsible for some of it, but as far as physically keeping people out of the building with a misinterpretation of some sort of county commissioner's orders, that falls on the security division of the sheriff's department, essentially the court security division, and their personnel, because they refuse to let anybody in the building physically. And I'm not sure if the bailiff would officially be under the sheriff's department or the courts. I believe they're under the courts, but that sort of implicates the courts, and then all of this implicates the county as far as liability. It's a fucking mess. It's a mess. Anyway, so 1 second here. Let me check this chat here for you guys. Keep going. Oh man, you guys are talkative tonight, I see. Oh yeah, you guys are wasting your time with Doc Holliday. I believe that's a local. Yeah, the pandemic. They had 9 months. I mean, I'm looking at all sorts of court orders and guidance and letters from the Supreme Court of Indiana to every judge in the state. They had plenty of time as well. Yeah, so anyway, so I know all this going in. I know that this entire thing, if it goes bad, there's no witnesses that are just in line to do much more than look the other way. With nobody from the public able to witness what's going on, nobody from the public able to, there's no live stream of the proceedings, even though they're under Indiana Supreme Court orders to have either a live stream available, the ability for the public to come into the courts and observe. They have to be masked up and stuff like this. Or there's a third option where they are able to provide a separate room for the public to watch the live stream, but they would still be in the actual courthouse, just not in the courtroom. I'm assuming in some other room near, adjacent, or close to the courtroom, whatever. And obviously none of these options were available for my trial, so the public was completely kept out. And this would be a combination of directions by court and clerk's office staff, as well as physical barrier into the building maintained by the sheriff's department at their security checkpoint. They're obviously armed, so public's fully closed out. I'm aware of this. I'm aware that it's not being live streamed. So, long story short, as I said, I grew up in America where this isn't something that happens. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking, I've seen some people straight up disrespect the judge in ways that you guys could only dream of that I would do and be able to tell you about. Way more brave than I'm accustomed to. I've seen some people say some pretty crazy shit to the judge. Wild stuff. I've never seen a judge remove the public from a trial. I've seen a judge remove the defendant from the trial plenty of times. They'll have your trial without you, and the public will watch. I've seen it. I've been the public, and I've watched trials where the defendants aren't there because they were removed from the courtroom, and I just would sit there and be like, how is this happening? You know, that used to be the thing that baffled me. But I've never seen a court. You know, obviously, I guess if the public wasn't allowed in, maybe they've done this numerous times, and you know, I just haven't seen it because nobody was allowed to. I don't know. But yeah, not something that I was really prepared for. So that had me a lot more nervous than I would have ordinarily been. Then, you know, once I get in there, like I said, I had a motion in that addressed the 21 recusals over the 3 cases, the fact that I was on judge number 8, the fact that it's been about 2.5 years and they have a 1-year window to prosecute me in. So I anticipated that was just going to be ignored, and we were going to proceed to trial. That's pretty much what happened. He ignored it a little bit more than I anticipated. And that kind of set the tone for the day. I realized, okay, he's not listening to logic. And then once they switched, now, and that's the thing, is when the judge rearranged the order of my trials, he fully acknowledges that we had them scheduled in a certain order. And the prosecutor, you know, is like, well, no, Your Honor, I thought we were doing them in this order. And he was like, no, I'm pretty sure we did this and that. I remember, blah, blah, blah. And you know, he asked me something, and I responded basically and affirmed to this. And he was like, yeah, I think Mr. Throgmorton's right. And I'm like, I think you're right, Judge. And, you know, so he fully acknowledges that they were in a certain order, that I was prepared for him to be in this order, and the prosecutor basically was like, well, I invited all the witnesses in the next case, and they're here already, so, you know, in the name of not wasting all these governmental employees are being paid to lie right now, and in the name of not wasting their time, must be salary, not an hourly thing. Let's go ahead and get them out of here, Your Honor. Let's have this trial first, and, you know, so he's like, yeah, sure, why not? And I object, and I'm basically explaining, like, hey, hold on a minute. Oh, I wasn't prepared for you to just rearrange them. I'm completely unprepared for you to rearrange the trials. You know, my entire defense is based upon the order that they're in. You insist on having 3 trials back to back to back, even though I'm a pro se litigant, within 2 days. So my strategy that I've been preparing for the past, like, 5 months, you know, wasn't really prepared for them to shake it up like that. So that further compounded things. And then once we got into the trespassing, I sort of realized all right, so at one point the city attorney says that the police were there to force me out of the building. And the wording of that is it caught my attention. So I immediately jumped on it and was like, yeah, you said that the police were there to force me out of the building. Can we go ahead and elaborate on that a little bit? You know, I wanted to get into that. He denies it, outright denies that he said it. I'm talking like 10 seconds later. And so I tried to basically, you know, like, he clearly just said this. Can we maybe check this recording here? Because I'd like to proceed with this line of questioning. And the judge is just like, no. Then a couple other things happened. There's the city attorney's basically up there testifying his opinions, hearsay, emotional concerns, not a whole lot of attorney kind of stuff. This is it was just, I'm so scared. He he shows up to numerous public meetings. What do you do for the city? I show up to numerous public meetings. What does Mr. Throgmorton do that intimidates you? He shows up to numerous public meetings. Um, it seems to be the general theme that government officials have of being offended that the citizen would want to participate at all. And then when the citizen is told that they shouldn't or couldn't participate, they're not worthy of participating. When the citizen flexes, then it becomes, oh, Mr. Scary Man, Mr. Scary Man using words and numbers, and he's got a camera, and oh fucking Christ, he's gonna. I'm so scared. This is basically his testimony. By the way, he's about 6'4", 240 pounds. So him pretty much going on the stand and saying, "Well, Your Honor, I'm just a big for nothing bitch, and don't let this all fool you." I was terrified, petrified. He said he was going to take information that he found on the internet and put it on the internet. And yeah, we got one that can see. Yeah. So it was a shit show. I realized, though, at a certain point that based on what I had on the record and what I could elaborate upon in a factual basis, which is, that was a very loosely used term, I realized that I could pretty much plead guilty, make it home safely, because, oh, bullshit, America's holding secret trials. I'm absolutely concerned for my safety because I'm probably on multiple fucking lists. And, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but if there's a list of people that are going to be put into a secret tribunal, I'm probably on it. So yeah, the whole secret tribunal thing makes me uneasy. Wasn't expecting it for a couple of fucking misdemeanors either. I figured I'd actually be charged with some sort of terrorist shit if I was going to ever be in a secret tribunal. Or, America's version of terrorism, which is like, journalism, voting, giving food away, collecting rainwater, whatever. Pick your poison. Anyway, so the whole situation made me really uneasy, and I kind of just wanted to get out of there. And, I'm well aware of when things aren't quite legal, and sort of automatically can overturn a conviction, whether you pled guilty or not. That's something maybe you want to look into. When you flat out say, yeah, I'm guilty, yeah, I did that, blah, 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 whatever. Even under the right circumstances, it doesn't matter. For instance, like if you can explain and show, hey, based upon the situation, I would have told these people I knew where Jimmy Hoffa was fucking buried to get out of that building safely to my family, which I made adamantly clear. I also expressed that it was a chilling effect on my First Amendment rights, as well as numerous other things. I don't actually really admit to guilt. I kind of point out the fact that the entire bit is ridiculous. Such as, did you batter this person? Yeah. I let my Republican values get the best of me, and I got confused, and I thought that here in America that, when government intrusion and all this shit developed, and let's say somebody tried to take my private property, and I defended myself, I thought that was legal here in America, especially in the red states. But I apologize, Your Honor. Apparently that's battery here in Indiana. So the entire thing is a fucking, it's a mockery. More so than I could ever do. But I don't actually admit guilt to anything. I'm pretty clear that it's all nonsense, and I'm I was kind of surprised the judge. I mean, I walked that line pretty close. I was actually surprised the judge accepted what I had to say as a factual basis of guilt. Um, anyway, so obviously, I'm I'm not done. You know, I would have loved to have saw these trials through to the end. But to be perfectly honest, I did not feel safe. And once we got into it, I realized there was a lot of stuff that was, there was a lot of stuff that was going to be pulled on me. And if I had pursued my, if I had pursued my defense as aggressively as I feel I would have in a not secret tribunal, either A, I would have won, or B, the methods that I mean, once I pled guilty, way more information came out, such as the video that the police got a warrant for, so they could steal off my phone to charge me with battery. The case that has complicated the other two significantly, because the alleged victim is the Laporte County GOP chairman. Anyway, this video is submitted as discovery material. It's been provided to me by the state. They fully intended on not using this in the trial as evidence. Now, about the same time that this, let's say we did the battery first. To be perfectly honest, about the same time that this prosecutor would have attempted this, I think I would have lost my shit. So in a way, I'm kind of glad that I took a couple deep breaths and recognized that I needed to approach this differently to sort of make it out of there without them being able to trigger me, essentially, to overreact and then respond. Because essentially that's what it seemed like was going to happen. And while these charges were all pending, it could have went bad. It could have went terribly, terribly bad. And the only evidence, the only documentation of what happened would have been witness accounts afterwards and maybe the audio. And depending on how bad this goes, let's say the story is Mr. Throgmorton was charged with intimidation on the city attorney, trespassing at City Hall, and battery on a local, political party member, chairman, blah, 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 blah. While all this stuff is still pending, it looks bad. You know what I mean? Now, once all this is done, I'm eligible for expungement. But as of right now, I have a bit of an older criminal history. Nothing terrible. Nothing that I'm ashamed of. I made mistakes. Nothing that I'm really, fucked up about. Not on any sort of a registry or anything. Just being stupid. This, though, however, reinforces, my old criminal history with stuff pending. Let's say I'm in the position to where I'm no longer able to speak for myself because I'm dead, in a coma, in jail, whatever. And my story's told for me. These things sort of reinforce whatever the narrative would end up being. So, I could literally end up shot in court, and the story could just be Mr. Throgmorton has this criminal history, and he was also charged with these things. Here's these police reports. Here's all the witnesses' accounts. The audio was damaged in a scuffle during Mr. Throgmorton's outburst about his rights to a public trial and rights to have his case dismissed when the evidence just disappears, and his rights that got him physically restrained. He got to talking loud about his rights, and we told him to shut up, and he didn't listen. So then we decided to escalate it and use force, and then Mr. Throgmorton resisted because Mr. Throgmorton is stubborn, and he just decides to clasp his hands together because the Indiana law says that that's passively resisting, not forcibly resisting law enforcement, and thus is not a crime. Whether the courts know this or not. So Mr. Throgmorton was shot by a bailiff for talking loud and not stopping, and then, whatever. This could have went terrible. Could have went bad. And I recognized that. I'd seen the writing on the wall, the breadcrumbs, whatever. And I knew essentially with what was on the record and what I would put on the record after I pled guilty that I had a good chance at an appeal, or some sort of other remedy. Obviously, this isn't that hard to prove. And it's really not that hard to bring in front of a courtroom to challenge the conviction, whether I pled guilty or not. So, like I said, obviously I'm not done. I would have liked to have been done with the trials, and I would like to read for pleasure a little bit here and there. Not just legal books, but other fun stuff. I like reading about animals and plants and all this other jazz too. But yeah, I would have loved to have taken a little bit of a break, but obviously it wasn't time for that. I lost the battle, and I'm still engaged in the war, I guess. It's a good way to put it. Live to fight another day kind of thing. Langley Lang, how you been? Let me check this real quick. Curb G. James. Top Cat. Candace. By the way, that reminds me. Good friend of mine. I thought I was shit out of luck after she sent me some information earlier about an event. And it was already passed, so I found another one, and they had sold out for a certain version of the tickets, but then there was a way to get they had like 4 tickets left for the other way. Anyway, so she managed to pull this off for me, and because of that, I will be going to virtually attending for about 3 days, I think, in February, FOIA Fest, which I didn't even know existed until tonight, and I am freaking jacked. FOIA Fest, like, I'm not big on festivals, events, anything with booths and a bunch of people. The fair, all these things where you go and there's all this I am an introvert, and I like solitude. However, I'm about to nerd out with this. This is my kind of an online Freedom of Information Act festival, essentially. This is my kind of thing. Anyway, thank you very much, Candace. Yeah, for real. Probably one of the coolest events anybody's ever sent me. I didn't even know it was a thing until tonight. There's something out there for everybody, I guess. Yeah, FOIA Palooza. And I mean, I put a link in the description. It's like the last link in the description, I think, maybe second to last. I think I touch on I got a buddy in Bloomington that I didn't know this until the other night either. He sent me some information about how a group of kangaroos, which male kangaroos are called boomers. So a group of boomers in is called a court. A kangaroo court. Anyway, so this link, though, is in the description. You can check out FOIA Fest. They've got an amazing lineup of people. Looks awesome. I'm going to have a blast checking this out. 2 days of just public records, tips and tricks of the trade, and journalists and all sorts of other activist types, First Amendment advocates from all across, just talking about Freedom of Information Act and public records request. Yeah, I'm gonna have a blast. Yep, thank you, James. Headline Club. By the way, they got some cool T-shirts and stuff that say "Journalists do it on the record." They're white with black writing. Very simple but very strong statement. I'm gonna have to get me one of those, actually. Tommy Stock. Which, by the way, speaking of, the individual that put me on to this FOIA Fest thing, she is pretty involved with Lucy Parsons Labs. If you've never heard of them, I can't even do justice describing everything they do. You just gotta go. You gotta go check them out online. They've got essentially a facial recognition database for bad cops. If you're watching my channel, this is right up your alley. Lucy Parsons Labs. Anyway, what else? What else? By the way, sorry so late tonight. Sorry it took me so long. I just started a urban agriculture certificate class through the Purdue University Extension. And that's on Wednesday nights, and I've already got other stuff going on Wednesday nights, so it's getting pretty hectic. And then I got done with class like maybe an hour before I started this. Got my pushing 11 months old now. I got my youngest to bed, and then about the time I was about to start this, it was time for my oldest to go to bed. So then once I wrapped all that up, got the dogs out, once everybody else, was settled into bed, I had some time here. But yeah, sorry so late. I wasn't intending on running this late. I usually try not to unless it's a weekend, but is what it is. Thank you, James. Yes, Top Cat. Permaculture. Love it. Restorative agriculture, permaculture. There's all very great concepts to get into. Not just the gardening. But you are a steward of the public lands. Just as important as your right to be on public property is, so is your responsibility to this great planet that we live on. I can't speak strongly enough about the responsibility to our environment that every individual has. I mean, if you get to enjoy the beauty on this earth, you should feel honored to help clean it up and take care of it. One of those ways is any kind of typically unorthodox agricultural stuff. Permaculture, anything away from the nonsense monoculture. Even most of your regular mainstream gardening techniques are a thing of the past these days. Aquaponics, hydroponics, vertical gardening. Just adding water opens you up to like so much more. You got hugelkultur, which is essentially like lasagna gardening, sheet layering, whatever you want to call it, time stacking. Um, this is essentially you're building the natural humus layer of the soil that would accumulate over decades, hundreds, thousands of years, whatever. You can build it up over the course of a year or two, maybe less, depending on how good your composting skills are and how much you go out here and mess with all this. But yeah, it's especially nowadays with the pandemic going on and everything. Permaculture is something you should definitely look into, because a lot of that stuff you want to get it as planted and in the ground as soon as possible, like trees and stuff. If I had to tell anyone what to plant right now, trees. Get your trees in. All that annual stuff you can worry about at another time. But the things that take a year or two to get established, that you gotta, they're like children. Those take a good couple, and they don't, most of them don't, unless you buy them, you pay the extra money or whatever. Most of them don't fruit immediately. A lot of trees take, who knows how long. Some trees take 20, 30 years to start bearing anything worthwhile. So the sooner you get your trees and stuff planted, fruit bushes, something that's going to take a couple years to start producing, the better. Anyway, sorry, I got a little off topic there. Yep, alfalfa pellets, which you can get at any pet feed store. You can buy that in bulk, big brown bags of it. That's basically your rabbit feed. But yeah, those are great for your compost. Worms love them. And basically, as soon as they get wet, they break down into like they're like similar consistency to dog food. Once they get wet, it just turns into like a paste almost. No kidding. I've actually thought about in the front yard trying to do something like some sort of grain, like rye or something. Just I was originally looking at it just as like a cover crop, but there's actually, you can grow some stuff and actually, thrash it yourself and grind it up and bake your own bread and everything. I'm all for the full process, like from the garden all the way to the table, as much as I can source out of the yard as possible. So I would love to get into growing my own grains eventually. Lovely. I didn't know that. 60 acres. You are in heaven. I'm actually looking into I want to be able to do zebra mussels. I want to compost zebra mussels. Essentially, like, once you get them out of the water and they dry out, just grind them up. It's going to be very time consuming. Not quite sure how I'm going to do this. Certainly not going to use a coffee grinder or anything. You would almost need something similar to that. But I worked at one of the local marinas for like 5 years up until this pandemic thing started, and basically my baby, my new boy, was born on the same day that Indiana declared an emergency, state of emergency, whatever you want to call it. So essentially, me and my better half ended up discussing this, and I've essentially been doing the stay-at-home dad thing right now. And then I'm gonna probably do something different, once he's a little bit older and we're comfortable with daycare and whatnot. Obviously this pandemic thing is slowing stuff down a good bit. We're not really comfortable just dropping the new baby off anywhere right now, because we don't know what's going on anywhere, and it's hard to keep track, and people are people. There's like, the government can't really contact trace all these people. There's no way there's no way we're going to be able to do it as parents of a small child like that. So basically, yeah. Right now, I don't have a job. To be honest, it kind of was driving me crazy at first. I've been locked in the house for a while. Normally, I'm off for the winter for a few months, and then I'm basically the first person on the lake and the last person on the lake. In the fall, I'm out there in head to toe gear. And in the spring, I'm talking, there's still snow on everything when I'm in the lake. So I'm used to being off for the winter for a good bit. But about the same time that this pandemic shut down all non-essential stuff, was when we were supposed to start back up. So I was ready to get outside and, start installing docks, piers, putting together boat lifts, and etc. And then this pandemic shit hit, and basically my boss was waiting on us to have the baby. Once the baby was born and we were out of the hospital, we were on the lake. Like I said, he was born St. Patrick's Day of 2020, March 17th. That's the same day Governor Holcomb declared the state of emergency here. So that slowed things down with, non-essential businesses for a while. And then we sort of had, yeah. Anyway, so basically, stay-at-home dad for a little bit. I got some other stuff going on. Never really got any free time. But yeah, right now, waiting on the little one to go a little bit bigger, so we'll, or the apocalypse to end, whatever. But yeah, I'm probably gonna venture out and do my own thing. Actually, I got some plans for my own business that once I'm done with all this stuff, I'll have a little bit more time to focus on that. Take that completely off the back burner. But yeah, excellent topic. Oh, I would totally, yeah. Not by choice at all, man. I absolutely love being out on the lakes. And I mean, what I did was like, it wasn't easy. I'm a little dude. I weigh 140 pounds or something, and it's all like, all these 17 to 22 foot long steel pipe that get put all into the lake, and I'm talking there's there's like 180 of these or something between the guest dock and the A, B, and C pier. There's a fair amount of them. I mean, it adds up. It's pretty brutal. And then I take all it out in the fall, and then same with the condos. We did the yacht clubs for a few years, but they got some new ones, so they put their own together now, and we would just drive all their pipes for them. But I mean, it's wet, it's cold, it's dirty, it's dangerous as shit. I mean, it's hydraulic crane, water jets, it's algae and water, and it's slippery, and yeah, it's a pretty dangerous job. Don't even wear a hard hat, because essentially, if one of these pipes fall, you're dead. I mean, that hard hat ain't gonna do nothing but block your vision. I mean, you're gonna want to see this coming and get out of the way. But I loved it. It's. I mean, that was the best part of the job. Like the probably over 5 years, I think we went through like. I worked directly for the owner. Him trying to hire a third guy to keep up with us. I think over the 5 years, we probably went through like 60 to 70 different people. Good 12 to 15 every year. 6 to 8 per season. Yeah, it's. But I loved it. I was out on the water all the time. It's always something different. I mean, there's always. I mean, we we got to go salvage this, we got to go fix this, we got to go reset this, and I was good at it. Putting in piers and boat lifts and whatnot, all of this requires a good amount of precision, and you're in an environment where that is near impossible. So it's very challenging, and it's always exciting. Requires a good bit of mechanics. You got to be familiar with some basic tools. Basically, you can't be an idiot. Long story short, you really just can't be an idiot out there because you get hurt. But you also got to be able to enjoy it. It's not landscaping. It's not fishing. It's way different. It's like a fireman drilling for oil in the middle of the lake or something. But other than that, and in between, spring setup and fall breakdown, I would assemble and install boat lifts of various shapes and sizes. And then, all that comes with that, resetting them, all those get pulled out in the fall as well. I detailed boats for a while. Don't like that. Not really trying to clean some rich guy's boat as it's growing, different plants out of the carpet because they just load it up however without cleaning it. Not much for shining rich people's shoes. But I didn't mind installing their boat lifts or their piers and whatnot. Interestingly enough, the guy that grabs my phone and I end up with a battery charge on him. I used to actually install his piers and boat lift and whatnot, and he ends up getting a no contact order through this case because I think his wife is on the city council, and they issue it for her as well at first. And I think they thought that was going to keep me out of the city council meetings. And then once everybody checked into it, they were like, no, not at all. Doesn't prevent you from attending the one place that we're trying to keep you out of. But it did prevent me from handling his piers, his boat lifts, and all that. So, basically he ended up being the last guy to get his shit in the spring, and the last guy to get his shit out in the fall. And didn't work out well at all. Anyway. But yeah. I miss it because essentially I've been trapped in the house for the same amount of time as the rest of you guys. Forever, it seems like. Since last year. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I see. If I ever come to Oregon, who knows? Someday I'm definitely leaving Laporte, Indiana. To be perfectly honest, I find it amusing because if I would have just been able to have these trials and get all this cleared up once all this was done, we were going to seriously look into getting up out of here. House was going on the market. We were going to start looking wherever, other states. Who knows where I'll end up? I really, really, really like the Upper Peninsula of Michigan myself. However, I am a fan of the snow. I'm not a fan of heat. I could deal with Oregon. Better half's been she took a few trips out to Portland. One of her best friends lived out there for a while, so she's told me about all the parts that I would love and showed me a good bunch of pictures and stuff. And we've talked about that. I've actually thought about Tennessee, a few other places. More long term, though. Not much of a traveler, to be honest. Way more of a homebody. Never been quite the rogue type, I suppose. I'm pretty comfortable running around in Laporte, Indiana. Dangerous Dan, you said you're in Laporte. Find me on Facebook, man. Christopher A. Throgmorton. Or you can hit me up at laportereporter@protonmail.com. I mean, I'm not a hard dude to track down. Shit, if you want, just go through and listen to some of my old videos. It's 219-380-8142. Whoever you are that keeps calling me private, I'm always down to talk. The strong silent shit is kind of creepy. Roots kind of dude. Yes, I am a Taurus. I am an earth sign. We are, yeah, we're pretty much, I'm like walking criteria for the Taurus. Very, very grounded here. Perfectly honest, I love the city of Laporte as far as the physical environment. I couldn't honestly pick a better place to raise children that I want to instill a sense of stewardship in nature with. Like, we have 7 lakes, 18 parks, the physical beauty here, and the opportunity to teach my kids about, just all kinds of nature, how to appreciate it, from the birds to the lakes to the trees to the mushrooms. I mean, just all these different things that you can go out and do to enjoy nature are very much so possible here. We've got trails for walking, running, mountain biking. They might even have some snowmobile trails. There's a bunch of paved path trails now, all bike trails. They're trying to connect a lot of the different natural resource locations that are spread out a little bit, trying to get everything connected to where you can essentially go in a big loop. And then there's a few channels between lakes and whatnot. There's good canoeing, kayaking, bike riding off, on and off pavement. The waterfowl here, I mean, there's so many different birds. If you're, I like to bird watch, so I've learned, this is essentially where I developed the appreciation for the hobby of bird watching, is living in the city of Laporte. Working on the lake, seeing a lot of stuff that I thought just looked cool and would look it up, and got me really, really into the bird watching thing. And I think a lot of that is we have a very unique area here, but not too far from Lake Michigan, and the Indiana dunes and all that stuff. There's so much biodiversity at the Indiana dunes. It's one of the most biodiverse regions on the entire planet. I don't even remember all the variety of stuff they have out there, but it's like just ridiculous amounts, like way more than you could ever consider being even possible, as far as the amount of different species of plants and birds and whatnot that they have at the Indiana dunes. But then there's places in between all around. There's a couple, like almost like satellite spots that are Indiana dunes controlled, I think. But I know there's a bunch of sycamore trees, I believe, which are fairly common where I'm from in Kokomo. But up here, I guess there's like just a very limited amount, and they're concentrated in one area. So there's a certain warbler that is attracted to that. Just there's so much cool nature and stuff like that around here. As far as the area goes, it's great to raise children, and even the educational amenities for children. There's some great schools around here, and there's a lot of really, really great people that work for the schools or even more so volunteer for the schools in capacities as like educational coordinators for like the Laporte County Solid Waste District and the Laporte County Soil and Water Conservation District. Both have some amazing people that work there. They're very passionate about their jobs and what they do, and they're always open to answer questions for people. Even somebody like myself who will ask a million questions. But then there's a Purdue University in Westville, Indiana, which is like the third biggest town, I think, in the county. So, there's a local college there. There's a lot of stuff going on with that. There's an extension office. And like I said, that's where I'm doing my urban agriculture certificate through. But yeah, like if you want to raise your children somewhere where it's literally, you live in town, but like there's just patches, just huge swaths of nature smack dab in the middle of neighborhoods and industrial areas. I mean, it's just all over. Like I said, there's 18 parks, 7 lakes. It's peppered all over the place. There's large concentrations of neighborhood as well, but it's fairly well spread out. There's a lot to enjoy. I've myself not seen everything that this town even has to offer. But yeah, I will miss it if we end up moving. The city of Laporte, I believe the population's around 22,500 people or something, Tommy Stock. The county is like 110 total. The bigger city in the county, Michigan City, is like 35-ish, I think, 35 to 40,000 people. Then, like I said, Westville's the third biggest, and it's maybe 7,000 people. Everything under that is 1,000 people, 500 people, something like that. But yeah, Laporte's like just under 23,000, something like that. But yeah, it's just, everything else here is a little off kilter. Terre Haute infestation of crows. No. But I like crows. Big fan of crows. I wish I could have pet crows, but you can't. Soon, maybe. Maybe Biden will get rid of the Migratory Bird Act, and I can just start collecting domestic birds and teaching them how to collect shiny objects and stuff. I'm convinced I could teach a crow how to play Connect 4 personally. That is a lot of morels. So, okay, no bullshit. What is the price of them there? I'm curious, because I think they were like $46 a pound last season, I think. That's city. Anyway, so what now? Well, you guys are gonna have to stay tuned because, like I said, playing this kind of close to the chest. Not gonna publicly get too in depth with it just yet. I will say though, fairly certain the city attorney perjured himself a few times, and I'm currently waiting on the audio for those hearings, and then I'll be able to respond to some of that. Then, not really sure how I'm going to handle the rest. Like I said, I got a few options. There's the judicial complaint side. Not really quite sure how exactly I'm going to handle this yet, but you won't know until it's filed, stamped on the docket. Thank you, Landley. Appreciate you showing up. Thanks everyone for stopping by the way. In Oregon, it's illegal to pick food commercially that's local. So you can't forage and then sell it, meaning that you can't sell morels, I presume. To anybody watching this, and I'm bouncing back and forth between, mushrooms and gardening and all this other stuff, it's because I'm reading the chat. Okay. No kidding. So, I wonder if that has any effect on that. Like, are they just... You said you found a spot where there's thousands of them. I almost wonder if... Is there less people picking them because there's not a commercial value because you're not allowed to sell a foraged product? Or, because, when you mention Oregon, my first thought would be that it's because it rains there so much. But obviously you need more than just the water to make that happen. I would think with thousands in one little spot, man, it would have to have something to do with less people picking them as well. They get to go to like a full, they get the spore out or whatever because nobody picks them up. And then, naturally over time, you would just come up with thicker and thicker concentrations. Wildfires, okay, yeah, true. I don't really know much about the Pacific Northwest. Lori, how you been? Than any state in the world. No shit, I can believe that. Got sidetracked on food. It's midnight, man. It's time to eat. Huh. Not too bad, Lori. Not too bad. Yeah, this is actually one of the things I actually want to try to get into as far as the growing food stuff is growing mushrooms. As well as Indiana has a certificate that you can get with like a wild mushroom identification thing. You can basically study up and get certified. But eventually I would like to do guided tours, throughout the city of Laporte if I stay here and show a lot of this off to other people. Here, this is what that bird is, this is what this mushroom is, this is what this bug is, etc. It's one of the things I'm doing is getting a lot of these certifications and whatnot in line to be able to do that eventually. But yeah, it's kind of similar here. Like you can't just do whatever you want, I would imagine, and sell them, because you got to be able to forage them and identify them responsibly. But yeah, they require a permit to pick them in destroyed the business. I could see that. Yeah, governmental solution. Crash it. Yeah, Tommy. It's definitely possible. I mean, we just we just got to figure out how to mimic nature and do it. I mean, that's the thing is you can do it with, it's become so commercially available for even the novice to grow a lot of their own mushrooms these days, from like your shiitakes and what is it, rishis, your lion's mane, all these, more commonly known edible ones. You can pretty much buy inoculated sawdust. You can buy basically little plugs that look like small corks that are inoculated, and you drill a hole in logs that are like, I think it's roughly less than 4 months old, as far as being cut fresh, and then you can basically just mallet these into the hole. There's a little bit more of a process that you should look into as far as soaking them and all this stuff, but the the whole like petri dish and sterile environment and that process is taken care of for you. You basically purchase these ready to go. Even a child can grow mushrooms, kind of thing. And a lot of these are, if you get to looking into them, most websites that do anything as far as providing you a list of stuff usually show you which ones are easiest to grow, which ones are harder. The different wood species that they best grow in, all the tips and little tricks of the trade. It's definitely worth the investment, in my opinion. For like roughly under $15, I think you can get like something like 100 of these inoculated corks, basically. And then you can fit so many per log. I mean, it wouldn't take up that much room, but you would get roughly, I think it's something like 3 to 5 years on average of harvesting off of those. Well worth it. Well worth it. Especially if if you're looking into them from medicinal properties. There's a lot of, like, I know the either reishi or riki, forget, I always get the two mixed up. One's a mushroom, one's a technique, Middle Eastern. Anyway, but yeah, it's definitely some interesting stuff, man. And then there's like, you can clean your soil with certain kinds of mushrooms, like wood rot, and a few others. Like, you can clean up heavy metals, PCBs out of the soil. The right mushroom will pretty much remove anything toxic from the dirt. You just got to get the right mushroom for the right toxicity. Yeah, this is where you start getting into like bioremediation and maybe some regenerative agriculture and stuff. But anyway, so yeah, we've been going on about an hour and a half here, guys. I'm gonna check this chat, make sure I didn't forget anybody's questions. If you're still in here and you had something you were curious about that I didn't respond to, I apologize. Maybe repeat that now, or like I said, you can go back through this video, get a hold of me somehow. Oh, by the way, like I said, definitely check out Lucy Parsons Labs, man. There's a really cool thing they got going there. I can't even begin to describe everything that they got going on to do it justice. You just gotta go check out their site. But they are doing God's work, as far as accountability goes, and wielding their First Amendment rights. Not just not just protecting their First Amendment rights or defending their First Amendment rights. I mean, they know how to use their First Amendment rights. You know, a lot of public records gurus over there. They know their stuff, and you know, they've got some amazing projects going on. Like I said, basically they've got like, they're building a national database of bad cops. Much needed project. Dangerous Dan. Okay. I got you. 270 area code. Copy that. I should have some time in the morning. Try me sometime after 10. I got a thing at around 9 in the morning. If I don't answer by then, try maybe back around 11. But yeah, I got a thing in the morning, but after that I should be kind of free. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, mods. Oh, shit, hold on. Yeah, so by the way, I got a bunch of probation. 120, I didn't get too much into depth, you know, too in depth with this, because I intend to have it all reversed and expunged eventually, so I wasn't really too worried about what they gave me. I think the fact that I received no jail time kind of reinforces the point that the judge knows that it's bullshit, and all they really wanted was my signature and for me to stop fighting it. But like I said, I got a bunch of probation. I got like 120 hours community service, which the list they gave me, one of the individuals on the list that I can volunteer for is the Laporte County Courts Maintenance Department, which is who is currently scanning in all the old court orders and stuff like this. So yeah, it's now I'm not moving. I'm trapped here for a year and a half. You know, their best case scenario is I'm stuck here for the next year and a half, and I'm not even in jail. And I may currently volunteer for 120 hours at the at the fucking courthouse. So this was not the best plan. I don't think anybody's happy with the outcome. Me, the city, nobody. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a whole new shitstorm with this keeping the public out of my trial. And I mean, that's a constitutional violation. Up, down, side to side, all day long. No which way around it. All I gotta do is file it. Even if I don't challenge the conviction, I can still sue for the constitutional violations of the non-public trial. Funny how that works. Anyway, like I said, guys, I'm gonna get off here, wrap this up. Good talking with everybody. All you gardeners, man, spring can't come fast enough. I know you guys are looking forward to it too, but for everything else, here's where you get your good First Amendment activity. Those good stories about First Amendment protected activity. This ain't no run-of-the-mill stuff, so make sure you come back. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that button. I'll try to update everybody again here soon. I was meaning to get out, do a public audit tomorrow morning, but my individual I got a meeting with, we decided to meet here. Coffee's better here. Anyway, so I don't actually have to venture out too much into the public tomorrow. But yeah, I got some stuff I got to take care of that'll generate some content here soon. Plus, I got a few more videos. But like I said, thanks mods, thanks everyone for watching. I'll get you an update here in the next 2 or 3 days. Try to stay a little more on top of this. Kids, class, courts, reading, I've been reading nonstop since the trial. Like I said, I wanted to wrap my brain around all this and digest it all and decide exactly how I was going to proceed before I got on here and even discussed any of it at all. But oh, by the way, if you're anybody who called the courts, thank you. What you chose to say to them is your business. I don't have any control over you. But specifically the effort that you made to sort of attempt to keep these people accountable by keeping eyes on them, very much so appreciated. That could have very well, in fact, it could have saved my life, because I didn't know it at the time that I was in court, because I didn't have any contact with anyone at all. I didn't have my phone, so I didn't know that Eric Brandt ran a 2-hour call to action. Thank you very much, Mr. Brandt. Thank you to the Brandt Davidians. But so I wasn't aware exactly of what was going on. But this could have actually been what prevented it from going terribly. Who knows? But like I said, if you were making calls and trying to keep them accountable, I appreciate it. Did your part. Very much so appreciate it. But other than that, I'm off of here. I got an early day tomorrow, so I'll get me something to eat. And I'm gonna hit the pillow. You guys take her easy. Stay safe out there. Yeah, that's about it. No, not kidnap James. Like I said, I apologize that I didn't give everybody an update a little bit sooner. Obviously, very delicate situation. A lot of legal snares and traps and whatnot. I wanted to. I didn't really want to get too public with. I don't want to get on here and just get to speaking too freely just yet. I thought a good bit about how I was going to approach this video before I decided to get on here tonight. And I don't mind getting on here and having it, somewhat casual on the live, but I did want to be able to take a little bit of time to think about what I was and was not going to say. So I hope you can appreciate that and accept my apology. Anyway, that's it. Good night, everyone. Again, thanks, mods. Deuces.